Sweatman, Executive Director of the Center for Career and Professional Development here at Mercer. Also, everyone in this room's career coach. So when you upload your resume into Handshake, you come to the Career Services office for assistance. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be working with me because I'm in our Atlanta office. All right, so let's get going. We're going to talk about a few things today. We're going to talk about our office, what resources we have for you, as well as go over resume and CVs and cover letters. So I won't read this to you. This is our mission and vision, but the idea for you to know here is that we are very committed to helping all Mercerians figure out this lifelong process of professional and career development, because it is a lifelong process. So the idea is, and is reality, is that you have to manage your career. No one can do that for you, right? Like, sure, you can call up somebody and have them write your resume, but you're not really helping yourself, okay? So we want to give you the tools to be able to do it yourself here and on. The other thing we want to make sure you know, including this, is alumni. You get this service now, but you also get this service as an alum, and that's unique to Mercer. Not a lot of schools offer that. So if you need us 2 years out, 5 years out, 10 years out, there'll be someone here to help you. And they, unless things change, won't charge you. We serve Mercerians for life. Okay? This is my lovely crew. We are small but mighty. The Atlanta office is up in the AACC. This building looks like this. Right now there's a whole bunch of construction happening in front of it. You can just take the little stroll up through what I call the meditative forest to find us. You'll have some classes over there probably. Like I said, I am primarily on this campus. We have folks on the Henry campus. We have folks on the Macon campus. So if you live closer to McDonough and want to meet with a person in McDonough, that's fine too. We serve across the university and serve directly 9 of the 12 schools here at Mercer. All right, so services offered, and I'll make sure that y'all have this PowerPoint so don't feel like you have to take furious notes, and I'm not going to read everything to you. We do everything from self-assessment and figure out what do I do with this to the kind of the nuts and bolts of cover letters, what's a job search strategy, interview prep, how do I network, all those things you would think are career and professional development related, the skills you need to have a career. So this is just a fun picture of the different resources we provide. I'm going to hit the highlights because we're always working on adding to this, so don't think you've figured it out because we'll probably add some more. This is what we have right now. First is the website, career.mercer.edu. It is more comprehensive than Handshake, which I'll talk through in a minute. But we try to make this really robust and current. If you ever find something out of date or something doesn't make sense for pharmacy, feel free to let me know and we'll look into it. But again, we're trying to serve the university, both far-reaching and as deep as possible by disciplines. Career.mercer.edu. Handshake. How many have been on Handshake and know what I'm talking about? Okay, for those of you that didn't raise your hands, no judgment, but figure it out. You need it. If you don't do anything else career related, you need to activate your Handshake account and use it. It's part of what you pay for. It's part of what you'll keep as an alum. It's easier to keep it once you graduate than figure out how to get it once you have graduated. Not that you can't, but it's a little more of a hurdle. So you log into that system like you do every other Mercer system with the same login and password. We say it's free, but it's part of your tuition. It's one of the resources you pay for. And it does a lot. You can make appointments with our office. In fact, it's the only way you can make appointments with our office. You can connect with employers. So say, for instance, you couldn't go to the healthcare fair we have every fall, but you wanted to see who came. You can go into that list and see who came and see their contact information, okay? Which is a benefit. You can also network with other students and alumni, both connected to Mercer, but also within the Handshake system. Handshake is a closed system, but a global system, meaning it's far-reaching in terms of the schools that use it, but it's not an Indeed, it's not LinkedIn where anybody on the planet can access it. You have to have the credentials to log in. Employers have reached out and said, we want to connect to Mercer students and alumni, okay? And you can set your profile to say that you want to network. And if you're looking for a job, you want to network. This is not Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is y'all do now, that's social media. This is, like LinkedIn, a critical career platform. Okay? There are also resources embedded in Handshake. So just down where you make an appointment, for those of you that have done that, there's a resources section. And we try not to overwhelm that. We kind of put the go-to basics. If you don't find anything else, you have these pieces. Because again, on the website is where we have a lot more. Right now, you'll find some things there like some of the things I'm going to cover in terms of resume and CV, cover letter. You'll also see something called Job Scan. That's a tool out there that helps with customization. But also want to highlight Big Interview. Big Interview is an interview preparation platform. Everyone should prep for an interview by practicing. If you're an extrovert, you can't just wing it. If you're an introvert, you can't write every answer that you can think of and make that work. You've got to prep. And it's a platform that helps you do that. It has a whole host of videos in the library, some even on resume as well. But then also lets you do your own mock interview as many times as you want to. You can share the recording if you want, or you can just review it for yourself and just keep getting better and better. So know that there are resources that we're constantly putting in there as they come up and we think are critical for Mercer students. You can get individual assistance. I referenced appointments earlier. You can meet with me face-to-face, on the phone, or virtual via Zoom. So we try to make it as flexible as possible. There's a whole host of options for meeting. And like I said, if you need to see me this week and my schedule is beyond crazy, like some weeks it is, you can meet with anybody on my team that you can get on their schedule and just do a phone or a Zoom if you can't do the face-to-face depending on their location. Again, you do that in Handshake. So this is a screenshot of how this will look. You go in and it shows you the options, and then you click on who you want to meet with. We make note down here, make sure you show up for your appointment. There are only so many slots, and you're taking the slot of someone who might want an appointment and will show up when you don't. We get things happen, but give us a heads up and cancel, reschedule if something comes up instead of no show. All right, the heart of what we came to talk about, resume and CV. Because career document prep is one of the things that we help you do in those resources. Behind those automated filters, when it's so easy to just go on Handshake or LinkedIn and click apply, and they use whatever you've put in there, you think, oh, this is easy. This is what you're in behind that screen or that filter. It's a lot of competition, and we want you to be like Toby and stand out. For the right reasons, not the wrong ones. Don't be on their wall of shame, because employers have one and they laugh about it. It's interesting what I've learned at career fairs over the years about what people put on their documents. So the first thing to know when you sit down with your resume or your CV, because I am going to talk about both and I will point out when you need which one as we go through. But for both, you need to know what your target is in mind, and that can't just be I want a job. Okay? It's got to be targeted, more targeted. It doesn't mean I want a job doing XYZ at Walmart, right? It does for when you apply for that job, but generally it can be a little more open. All right. How do you know which one to use? There's some general guidelines. You need to think about who's going to receive it, and bottom line, what do they say they want? Do they ask for a CV in the job description or a resume? You have to read the fine print. Okay? So commonly, if you are applying for clinical, residency, science, research, academic kind of jobs, they're going to want a CV. If you're doing retail or other industries, they're often going to want a resume. Here's the little bit of the difference. Resume is very concise, 2 pages max. Hyper relevant, hyper customized for the specific job in front of you. That's when it's this job at Walmart, right? Whatever the specific thing is. CV is more comprehensive. Now this says 10 pages max, but for where y'all are in school and the experience you have, do not have a 10-page CV. 5 pages is probably max, right? Y'all have a robust experience, so it shouldn't be 2 pages. I've seen them. I know what y'all do. A good 4 to 5 pages is okay, but don't get on and on and on and on. It too is a little customized. It's not everything you've ever done in life, right? You're making a case for your fit for the job you're applying for or residency program you're applying for in these documents. So use these documents to that advantage. All right, what you will see on all three of these, I just said the customization piece, you'll see conservative formatting and avoid templates. If you don't hear anything else I said besides Handshake, do not use a template. That doesn't mean you can't look at a sample and build your own so that it looks like it if you think it meets all the guidelines we talk about. But do not use a template. It's very tempting and easy to go to Uncle Google and say, give me a CV template, give me a resume template, and you plug and play. There are reasons to not do that. One is recruiters don't like it. They think you didn't take the time to do the work to get the job. So guess what? You don't get the job. Two, 9 times out of 10, we're applying online. Those online scanners, applicant tracking systems, ATS, you'll hear it called all those things, don't scan templates well. They will miss whole chunks of your document. You don't need to do that to yourself, okay? So no template. Do the pain of creating it once, and then you'll tweak it, okay? One size does not fit all. That goes back to customization. Your document has to be customized, even if it's a CV, for what you're doing. That means you need to use the employer, the residency language that you're seeing in descriptions. JobScan, I mentioned earlier, is a tool that's out there in the universe. I get no kickback, unfortunately, for mentioning them, but they figured out a gap in the market because guess what? Our brains don't work like robots. We don't count keywords or even know what they are sometimes. It's a tool that helps you know if you've done a good job customizing. You copy and paste your resume, you copy and paste your job description, and it gives you a match rate, and it gives you a specific list of words that it pulled and identified as keywords and shows you how well you did using them in your document. Okay? This is a list that I'm not going to go through, but you'll have as a reference point in the recording of what you can include on a resume and what you can include on a CV. Some of them are duplicates and should be duplicates, but again, keep relevancy and customization in mind based on what you decide to include. All right, here's some links as well to our resources for these different things that I'm about to go through, including the link to JobScan. I've done this before, and there's some slides that go with it on our website in addition to the resources y'all have, so you're free to go look at that as well if that's helpful. And then CV guidelines and samples for pharmacy employment, that's the resume, and then pharmacy residency. I'll show you the different samples, but they are specific formula, format you should use for residency specifically. Because, you know, I've been given a CV and wasn't told it was for residency and gave feedback based on general CV guidelines, and then they said, oh, it's for residency. Then it's a different conversation. So make sure that you're clear if you upload it for me to review, that I know that you're using it for residency. All right, so CV for academic research, etc., like we talked before. Here's the link again. We try to make this super easy. Just a screenshot of the top of it. You can go there and see the fuller document. A couple of things to point out. Kind of common things that I give as feedback, so save yourself the step. We do city and state on a standard CV. We don't do full address. That's a holdover from days gone by when they would mail you something. They're not going to mail you anything. 2, from a safety standpoint, nobody needs to be able to Google your house because now they can, before they couldn't. 3, you don't want folks to have bias about where you live and how you can and cannot transport yourself to where you're applying. Okay? So this is another place you can customize. So if the job is in Stockbridge and you live in Stockbridge and you want them to know, like, hey, I'm your person, I'm in Stockbridge too, like I can walk if I need to, whatever. But you want them to know you're right there, then put Stockbridge. But if not, if it's outside of where you live and you're in a metro area, we suggest putting metro in the city. So Metro Atlanta, Metro Dallas, Metro DC. Okay? So the bias doesn't creep in. Another common one you'll see, y'all get real creative with how y'all lay out your education. School, location, the name of your degree. No candidate, no abbreviations, and dates. We don't do enrollment dates, we do month and year of graduation. And when you're still enrolled in a program, the way you indicate that is to put anticipated when you will graduate. This was dated, it should say May 2022 or whatever, right? Licensure, you need to include expirations and the license number. Certificates, if they expire, you need to include the expiration. And this is real certificates, not things that you learned in a PDN or a class training, okay? And then professional experience is work you get paid for, internships. It depends on how it falls when you see the other sections where it fits. When you're not sure, feel free to reach out and ask me. But then typically you'll have an IPPE section, APPE section, and so on and so forth down the line. All right.
I have a question.
Yep.
Can you go back to the previous slide? What about the consistency in dates? So like there's May 2013 and then y'all switch over and do 2015 to present.
I'm glad you asked that. Consistency in format of all things is what will get you out of the stack. So be consistent in date. Some people like to put the exact date of licensure. It's not necessarily required. So you could be consistent and say October 2013 and do that here as well. It's fine if you don't have the month for all of them, and some of them you do. What you don't want to do is, you know, this one says 5-17, this one says October abbreviated 2015, this one's written out. Be consistent with whichever way you decide to do it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. And think consistency in all things. So this is one example. There's not a magic formula for me to say use this one every time and it will work, because this is such a subjective thing. Unfortunately, it's the game we're playing right now in the HR space, right? But you got to be consistent and hit professional guidelines. So if your header looks like this, have them all look like that. Whatever you decide is best, be consistent and pay attention to those details. There are two big processes when you're putting together your document. One is content, that customization, what's making the best case for your fit for the job, and format. Most people start with one and burn out and don't do great on the other. Don't think you necessarily can sit down and do this all at once, okay? All right, so this is the CV for residency. If you're applying for residency, this is what it should look like. Go find the sample and make yours look like this. I don't love it, but they didn't ask me. This is what they expect to see, okay? Resume, most commonly for retail, for pharmacy students. But again, give them what they ask for. If they ask for a resume, that's what you give them. Name, right? And please don't put Maureen Sweatman, professional, experienced professional. When we wrote this, I thought, oh my goodness. It should just be your name, okay? You'd be surprised what I see. Okay. Again, the city and state, like we talked about, are Metro Atlanta. Your email, and that means the way this is written here, not your ID number, again, from a safety standpoint, just because that works internally. Externally, if they put your ID number in as your email, it don't work, okay? It's hyperlinked, meaning they can click on it immediately and email you. Same for LinkedIn. Notice LinkedIn is first name, last name. It's not the gibberish that LinkedIn will default it to. You have to edit the URL in your settings, okay? Everyone doing a job search, with the exception of a couple of disciplines, need a LinkedIn profile. It's considered part of good job search and networking, okay? So make sure you have that. There are resources on our website about how to do a great job on LinkedIn. And then I think there's even an event coming up that the business school is doing. Feel free to crash the party. We push schools to have their events open if it's career related. It makes sense. So I'm pretty sure that one's open. All right, so the title you're pursuing, that goes back to customization, and particularly when you're early in your experience, you might not have had that title yet, but guess what that scanner is looking for? the title, and it's just doing check yes or check no. If you check no, it doesn't go through. So this is one of the ways around getting to that, right? So putting the title. Think of your document not only as everything you've done and every skill you possess, which it shouldn't be, but also aspirational. Now that doesn't mean, well, I want to be able to like run a Fortune 500 company, so I put that in there. But kind of find the middle of, you can name the title even though you haven't had it, right? That's aspirational. Same as, one of the things I've seen besides the title is putting ideally suited for roles including, and then putting the title. That's another way around that scan, but again, also makes it aspirational. You're saying, I'm an awesome candidate, here's why, and I'm ideally suited for this kind of role, right? These are competencies. These aren't just copy and paste from a job description. You need to actually be able to do these things, right? Just because you took an Excel class does not make you an Excel genius, right? So make sure, because they might call you on it, sit you down and have you do some sort of assessment, and then right? Yeah. So now, but don't go the other way and think I have to be the Excel guru. A lot of my women, in particular, their stats to back this up out there will think I have to be perfect in something before I can put it on my resume. Men are like, I've done it a couple times, so I'm good. Again, find the middle. Do it enough that you can say you're moderately competent, if not advanced, but not perfect. Okay? And then here for the resume, you notice there's relevant experience. You can even call the section this. So say, particularly for students, and sometimes other folks as well, you have a combination of things that are relevant and things that pay the bills, like working at Target or Longhorn or whatever, right? So if you want to show and you're looking to demonstrate have these many years of experience knowing how to be a good employee in a mix of things, you can do a relevant experience section and you can do an additional experience section. You go into more detail here because it's relevant. Additional, you just are listing the where you work, what your title was, and the dates. Okay? Because again, you're trying to show years of experience. Okay? So relevancy is always your guide for resume in particular, because you got to get a lot on 2 pages. All right, so some quick tips. Again, figure out which type you need and then work with that type. For pharmacy folks, I generally recommend have both. Like, have done the work to create a basic version of both so that when you sit down to apply for something, you're not starting with a blank slate because that's overwhelming. Okay? You can also have what I call a kitchen sink document, which is everything you've ever done you could ever think of to say. That when you sit down to customize, you can pull from and tweak, and again, not really have to tax yourself about, well, I had this experience 3 years ago in that program, what was it, what I do, who was it, when was it, right? You've done all that. Again, no templates. Even when you build it yourself, don't use tables and text boxes and all those kind of things that add extra layers to the document. Just really simple formatting. Okay, but bold, italics, underlining, bullets are your friends. Use that to distinguish and make it reader friendly. Do not use the header and footer feature. You will have information that needs to be on the page in the header area and information that needs to be in the footer area, but don't use those features because they don't scan. Manually put it in those places. Okay? You have your header information on the first page. On the second page and every page thereafter, you have your name and the page number. That's it. Don't get creative. Don't label it. Don't just, again, just have that. And then I mentioned this a little bit. Remember that you're building it for your reader. Yes, you're putting yourself out there. It can feel very personal, but remember someone's reading it. You want it to be reader friendly. That's why it helps to have a second pair of eyes on it. Have me review it, have a faculty advisor review it, somebody to say, have you thought about doing it this way? I can't really read that. All right. We've hit most of this, so I'm going to keep going. All right. Number one turn off, besides every other thing I've already said, is poor writing skills. In your document, your cover letter, your email, your thank you letter, please be mindful of punctuation, spelling, grammar, all those things. If that's not your strong suit, have somebody look at it to help you see what you can't see. Okay? Do not be informal and unprofessional, right? This is not, hey, what's up? It's very skew formal, right? It's better to overdress for an interview than underdress. Same in your documents, right? You don't say, hey, what's up, Lisa, to the dean, right? You wouldn't do that in this kind of communication either. Again, we laugh, but people do it. So stand apart for the right reasons, not the wrong ones. Just a funny, one of the hospital systems, one of their documents on the wall of shame includes in their skill set video games. Unless you are in that world, video games are not a skill set. Do not include them. All right. This is just a screenshot on Handshake that shows you can upload as many documents as you want us to see over time as possible. When it gets to the point and it says reviewed, that means someone in our office, usually me for you, has looked at it and approved it. If I haven't, it'll say suggested changes and it'll ping you via email. So check your Mercer email to go look at it and my comments will be there. And we can go back and forth until we get it how we need it to be, okay? And once you're to the point of if and when you want to apply for jobs in Handshake, you can use a document that's been approved to apply. And note that it's not just resumes or CVs, you can also do cover letters, and then sometimes for job postings they want transcripts and other things, and you can upload those as well. All right, cover letter. We're going to focus on cover letter, not letter of intent for residency, because some of that overlaps and some of it doesn't. Make sure you look at the sample for residency letter of intent when that's what you're doing. We're going to talk about cover letter right now. All right, so again, it's formal professional letter. There are certain elements that includes that you may or may not know because we don't use this letter writing very much anymore. It's a kind of a holdover standard, but we still use it, okay? And if you don't know what that is, there are links down here that go to our website that show you samples of what that includes, okay? Think of this as an opportunity to help yourself get an interview. Your resume, you make it as dynamic as you can, or your CV, but it only goes so far. Cover letter is your chance to give some specificity, so explain some things, okay? It too is highly customized. It should not be generic, dear sir or madam, I've sent this letter to everyone, please hire me, okay? Because that's how some of them read. That's how recruiters read it when it looks like every other letter in the stack because you used a template or Uncle Google helped you. Cover letter is not regurgitation of your resume and CV. It's not a generic letter. It's not a template, and it's not the same as everyone else's, okay? Can't say that enough. Have y'all heard me say it needs to be customized? Yeah. All right, so the components. A header with your contact information. It's going to match your other documents, almost like professional letterhead, right? It should be consistent. Introduction, body paragraphs, and closing. Introduction. You need to include the company, organization, the position where you're applying, where you heard about the position when appropriate. I don't always recommend putting Indeed, but that's your call. And then a big picture introduction of yourself. That's like an opening wow that makes them want to read the letter more. You got to find the balance too that doesn't turn into like your grandma story, right? I got into this because, but big picture, right? Not just that I'm writing to apply for that every other letter sounds like. Body paragraphs. Again, this is where you're going to bring life to the skills and strengths and experiences that you've listed in your career document. It supports your argument that you're a fit for the position, so make that argument for them. They're not going to make the leap for you. They're not going to translate. You got to spell it out. You want to focus on how you're unique. Every employer is looking for a unicorn, which is why the job description is always like this, that no one possibly could ever do all of, right? And all of you, every job seeker is looking for a unicorn employer. You both got to meet your expectations somewhere in the middle. A cover letter is a chance for you to explain how you're close to being the unicorn. How are you unique? How do you fit what they're looking for? What it doesn't say specifically here that I want to say is in these body paragraphs, give specific examples. People talk in big generalities, which say nothing. It's vague. You can say you're Santa Claus, but unless you've done a certain thing at a certain point, you're not, right? So don't say I'm a great leader and leave it at that. Give an example. When were you a great leader? You don't have to, again, it's not regurgitation. You don't have to say all of them. You can say, in my internship at blah, 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 I led a team doing yada, 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 right? Okay. Closing. You want to summarize, again, leave them with a wow, not like so many letters I read are like wah, wah, wah at the end. You lost them. It's got to close with a wow. You want to connect the mission, vision, or values. That goes a long way. It shows you've done your homework and that you customize this document for the person reading it. Provide your contact information. Don't refer them to your header. Just say your phone number and your email hyperlinked, so it's right there for them. Make it easy. You want to thank them. You want to express one more time your interest. That can be in the connection to mission, vision, values. Please, for all that is holy, use positive language. I see so many letters that say some version of, if you think I'm a fit, I hope you think I'm a fit. If you're applying, you should think you're a fit and own it, even if you're faking it a little bit, right? Again, that kind of 7 out of 10, right? Don't apply if you can only do 2 of the things, but don't think you got to do all 10, right? If you can do a good 7, you're fit, right? Unicorn. Okay. So use positive language about the interview, the follow-up. Now that varies as to what you're using this cover letter for, but usually it's an interview, right? So giving you an example. I look forward to discussing the possibility of joining the Northside family and can be reached at your convenience at, here's my information. Now you would say more than this. You got to do the mission, vision, values connection, right? But you kind of hit that in this. It's positive language. All right, some key tips. We'll see what I hit and what I didn't. Always address this letter to an individual. And if it's an email, of course it would be to an individual. But if you're applying to something online, figure out who it goes to. When you can, figure out who it reports to. Even if they're not the first person that reads this letter, that's who you address it to, the supervisor. If you can't figure that out, figure out the recruiter or the head of HR, something that makes sense even if you miss the mark a little bit, rather than dear sir or madam, right? Because again, it reads like generic. Okay, if you can't find that specific, you can default to the company name and human resource representative or recruiter, okay? So Northside recruiter, right? Again, match your header. We talked about This is one page, a full one page, right? This is your chance to explain the fit, give some specificity. You want to fill up a page, but not go over. They won't read it. Do not use acronyms in uncommon language or slang. Proofread, triple check. It will not be requested for every position. Sometimes they'll give you the option if there are other things you want to include besides your career document. If you're a great cover letter writer, do it. If you're not, don't. Okay? All right. This is not a cover letter. Why? Yeah, I hear the grumbles. They are on target. Okay. It's too short. It's too generic. It looks like an email, right? Okay. Even when you're doing a cover letter light in an email, because sometimes that's what you do for like internships and things like that, it should still be almost a cover letter, right? It's not this. All right. This is a poorly done one. Generic. It's vague. Talk about your courses. At this point, you should have some experience to lean on, not your courses. Okay? Don't talk about courses. Even on your career documents, don't put courses. This, generic. It'll make me an asset. How? Right? Spell it out. Do not refer them to your enclosed resume. Duh, they know. It turns some recruiters, like when I used to do HR, off. Don't refer them to something else. Just put it right here, or don't include it at all. Okay? And here we go. If possible, I would like to, right? That's not positive language. That's passive. Okay? This one's okay. It's too short. It's missing the formal pieces, but we assume that gets added, right? So, it's a little better than the last one, but again, it's vague. There's not contact information. There's not specificity. Here's the same one redone. Okay, so scan it so that when I flip slides, you can see a little difference. One, it got twice as long because you gave specificity, right? No, they did a no, I don't like, as you'll see from the attached resume. You could do it. It's not a deal breaker, but some recruiters don't love it, okay? Details, outcomes, specificity. Thrilled, right? This is more positive language. It's not if possible. Okay. Now, this is not perfection. If you sent this, I'd probably have some suggestions, but it's better than the first one. Okay? All right. A few more things here, and then we'll open up for questions. We, like everyone else on the planet now, has social media, Mercer, CCPD. We have really ramped up doing webinar recordings. So in addition to the materials you have through pharmacy, you can also get our webinar recordings on YouTube. Okay. So the others primarily are event updates, like, hey, the career fair's coming, are you ready? It's this afternoon, come over. But also like the latest, greatest thing we're seeing out there, you know, on Forbes, on whatever platform that we share on social media that we don't put on the website or Handshake. All right, so I left this in, even though some of these are dated, to let you know or remind some of you that are further along in the program that we have annual events, annual core events. This isn't exhaustive, but these are the core events, and then including some that are coming up. Including today at 1, Insider Tips for Healthcare Hiring by a recruiter from Grady. Now, you might have class, you might have something else to do because I'm telling you right now and it's going to be in an hour, right? If you register for any of our webinars, you'll get the link to the recording and not have to remember what was that topic and let me go look at YouTube and see if they posted it. But if you register, it automatically gets sent to you, whether you can actually attend or not. Now, we want you to attend, right? But we get it. We get schedules. We have a healthcare fair every year. You're welcome to attend those. You're also welcome to attend any of these. So if they're a fit, they're of interest to you, you can get yourself there. We're on all campuses. Some of them will be in Macon. Some of them will be here. You're welcome to attend. That includes once you're an alum. You can come back and come to career events. When in doubt, check Handshake events. All the details will be there, including who attended. So my example from earlier, when maybe you couldn't go to the healthcare fair, but you want to see who came and get those recruiter contacts, they're in Handshake. All right, and just a reminder, graduation will be here before you know it, and it is your launch for your career. And you don't want to wait until April if you want a job when you walk across that stage. They don't fall out of the sky in your lap when you pick up your diploma. Okay? We're going to do the work and get a strategy and have yourself ready to go. All right, so come see me, reach out, and we'll help you. Questions that we didn't get answered already? Yeah?
Does it matter what type of upload format with the job scanner programs? Like first Word document versus PDF?
You usually look to see what the instructions are because there's kind of a core 4 or 5 that different companies use. Look and see what it says. 9 times out of 10, you can't go wrong with a PDF. Sometimes you can go wrong with Word because it looks one way to you and you open it or upload and it looks a different way. Any other questions? No? All right, well, thank you for your time and attention.